At my son's birthday party, my mother-in-law publicly announced, "He's not yours." We did a DNA test. My husband nodded, smirking. I was stunned until I saw the paper. "You never expected me to read the fine print, did you?" I whispered. The smirk fell from his face as I pulled out the real test results that exposed everything. I was married to Mark for 7 years. We had our son, Leo, 5 years ago. Our marriage wasn't perfect, but I thought we were happy. At least, I thought he was happy. Looking back, I was blind. Mark's mother, Brenda, never liked me. I don't know why. I was never rude to her. I never argued with her. I tried everything to be a good daughter-in-law. But from the moment Mark introduced me, she hated me. She was the type of woman who believed no one was good enough for her son. She made snide comments about everything I did, my cooking, my clothes, the way I talked. I ignored it because Mark told me she was just old-fashioned. He asked me to be patient. So I was. For years. But no matter what I did, Brenda acted like I was the worst thing to ever happen to her family. Then, Leo was born. And that's when it got worse. At first, I thought she'd warm up to me. After all, Leo was her grandson. But no. She was obsessed with him, but not in a normal, grandmotherly way. She treated me like I was a temporary babysitter instead of his mother. She constantly questioned how I cared for him. She'd say things like, "Are you sure you're feeding him enough? His father was a big, strong baby." Or, "He doesn't look much like Mark, does he?" At first, I brushed it off. Some babies take after their mothers. But as Leo grew, Brenda's comments became more direct. One time, when Leo was 2, she actually said to my face, "Are you sure he's even Mark's?" I was stunned. Of course he was. I told Mark what she said, expecting him to be furious. But instead, he just shrugged. "She doesn't mean anything by it," he said. "You know how she is." That should have been a red flag. But I loved him. So I let it go. I let a lot of things go. Then came Leo's 5th birthday party. I planned the whole thing myself. A superhero theme, because Leo was obsessed with Batman. I made little capes for all the kids. Hired a magician. Baked the cake myself. Everything was perfect. Leo was so happy. And then Brenda ruined it. Right in the middle of the party, while kids were laughing, while parents were chatting, while the magician was mid-trick, she stood up, clinked her fork against a glass, and cleared her throat. Everything stopped. She smiled. That fake, tight-lipped smile. The one I knew meant trouble. Then, she held up a folded piece of paper. "Everyone," she said loudly. "I have something important to share." I felt my stomach drop. She looked straight at me, grinning. "We had a DNA test done on Leo," she said. "And guess what? He's not Mark's." Silence. The kind of silence that suffocates you. I could feel the stares. I could hear the murmurs. My face went hot. Then I turned to Mark. Praying. Begging. And that's when I saw it. The smirk. He knew. And he let her do this. I felt like I was going to throw up. Brenda shook the paper dramatically and said I knew it. "I always knew it. You trapped my son with another man's child." I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. Leo, my baby, was standing right there. He didn't understand, but he knew something was wrong. He looked up at me, eyes wide, scared. Mark finally spoke. He crossed his arms and said, "I had my doubts. Now I have proof." His voice was so calm, like this was just some casual conversation. And that's when something inside me broke. I snatched the paper out of Brenda's hand. My hands were shaking as I unfolded it. I scanned the words. And that's when I saw it. The fine print. They thought they had me. They had no idea. Because I had the real results. And what they revealed. It destroyed them. I stared at the paper in my hands, my vision blurring with rage. Brenda was still smirking. Mark had his arms crossed, looking at me like I was some criminal he had just exposed. I could hear whispers spreading through the crowd. Parents, friends, neighbors, all watching. I felt like I was drowning. Then I saw it. At the bottom of the paper, in tiny, tiny letters, was a disclaimer. This test was conducted using an at-home paternity kit and is not a legally admissible DNA result. I almost laughed. This wasn't a real test. They had used some cheap, unreliable kit, probably swabbed Leo's cheek while he was watching cartoons, and now they were standing here acting like they had proof of something. Mark must have seen the change in my face, because his smirk wavered. Just a little. I took a deep breath. Then, in a voice so quiet only he could hear, I whispered, "You never expected me to read the fine print, did you?" And just like that, his face dropped. Brenda didn't notice. She was too busy gloating. "I always knew you were a liar. I told Mark not to trust you. And now, everyone here can see I cut her off." Loudly. Clearly. "You used a fake test." Brenda blinked. "What?" I held up the paper. "This is a cheap at-home kit. It's not even legally valid. I turned to the guests. This isn't real proof. It's a scam. Murmurs. More whispers. Some people were already frowning. Brenda's face twisted. It's enough proof for us. I smiled. A cold, sharp smile. Because she walked right into my trap. That's funny, I said. Because I had an actual DNA test done, and then I pulled out the real results. I had taken Leo for a professional DNA test 3 months ago. Not because I ever doubted I knew Leo was Mark's, but because I knew this day was coming. Brenda had been making too many comments. Mark had been acting strange. Secretive. Distant. I knew something was brewing, so I got ahead of it. I pulled out the envelope with the real, legally certified test results and held it up for everyone to see. This, I said, is an official DNA test. Done at a real lab. With real professionals. Brenda's mouth snapped shut. Mark turned pale. I opened the envelope. I pulled out the paper, and then I read it out loud. Probability of paternity, 99.9999%. Leo was Mark's son. The silence that followed? It was glorious. Brenda's face went slack. Like her brain had short-circuited. Mark? He looked like he wanted to throw up. I turned to the crowd, raising my voice so there was no confusion. So, Mark, Brenda, since you two were so eager to humiliate me in public, let's talk about this in public. Why did you do this? Why did you fake a test? Brenda's jaw flapped open and shut. Mark stammered. I didn't let him finish. I turned to Leo, who was still standing there, watching. I knelt beside him, looked him in the eyes, and said, "Baby, I love you. And no matter what anyone says, you are my son. You are perfect. And no one can ever take that away." Then I turned back to Mark. How dare you do this to your own child? That's when I saw it, guilt. He wouldn't meet my eyes. And suddenly, it all clicked. He wasn't just doing this because of Brenda. He wanted an excuse. He wanted a way out. He wanted to make me the bad guy. I felt something inside me snap. Fine. If he wanted war, I was ready. And I was going to destroy him. I could see it now. This wasn't just about Brenda. This wasn't even about Leo. This was about Mark. He wanted out. And instead of being a man and telling me, instead of getting a divorce like a normal person, he had let his mother turn Leo into a weapon against me. And that was unforgivable. The crowd was dead silent. Leo was still standing there, watching. His little hands clenched into fists. He didn't understand everything, but he knew he was being talked about. He knew his dad wasn't saying anything to defend him. I stood up, holding the real test results in one hand, the fake ones in the other. And then I did something that made Brenda physically flinch. I laughed. I laughed so hard that some of the guests actually jumped. Mark's head snapped up. His face twisted. What the hell is so funny? I wiped my eyes, still chuckling. You and your idiot mother. Brenda gasped like I had slapped her. Excuse me? Oh, don't act surprised, I said. You just publicly accused me of cheating and tried to humiliate me in front of my child. I think we're past the respect phase of this conversation, don't you? She turned bright red. Good. Then I turned to Mark, stepping closer. So tell me, Mark. What was the plan? You fake a DNA test, humiliate me in front of everyone, and then what? You divorce me and take Leo? Was that it? His eyes darted away. Bingo. Brenda snapped. You're a liar. You faked that test. I don't believe it. I sighed. Okay, then let's go to court. I'll bring the real test, and you bring your little dollar store one, and we'll see which one holds up. More whispers. Someone actually laughed. Brenda looked like she wanted to explode. And Mark? He looked defeated. But I wasn't done yet. Because I wasn't just going to win this battle. I was going to end him. I folded the real test neatly and tucked it into my purse. Then I pulled out my phone. Mark stiffened. What are you doing? I smiled sweetly. Oh, just pulling up a few things. And then I turned to the guests. Since we're all here and talking about secrets, should we talk about the one Mark's been keeping? Silence. Mark's face drained of color. Don't, he whispered. Oh, no, I said. You don't get to, don't me. Not after what you just pulled. Then I tapped my phone and held it up for everyone to see. And I played the video. A Ring camera video. Of Mark walking into a motel room. With another woman. Brenda made a noise like she had been punched in the gut. Someone in the crowd gasped. Mark lunged for my phone, but I was faster. I took a step back, my voice cold as ice. You accused me of cheating, I said. In front of our son. You tried to turn everyone against me. And the whole time, you were the one sneaking around. Mark was frozen. Brenda looked like she wanted to vomit. Leo tugged at my hand. Mommy, what's happening? I turned and knelt down, cupping his little face. Nothing you need to worry about, baby, I said softly. But I think Daddy is leaving soon. Leo blinked. Where's he going? I smiled. Somewhere very far away. Then I stood up, turned to Mark, and dropped the final bomb. Oh, and by the way, I already filed for divorce. Happy birthday, Leo. Mark just stood there, his face ashen. Brenda was gasping like a fish out of water. Her whole body was trembling as if she had been struck. But me? I was calm, because for the first time in years, I had the upper hand. The video of Mark sneaking into a motel room with another woman was still playing on my phone. I let it go for a few more seconds, long enough for everyone to see him unlocking the door, long enough for them to watch as a woman in a red dress wrapped her arms around his neck. Then I paused it. The silence was thick. Some of the guests were whispering. One of the moms from Leo's preschool actually covered her mouth in shock. Brenda looked at Mark like he had just shattered her entire world. Mark, she rasped, tell me this isn't real. Mark still wasn't speaking. So I did it for him. Oh, it's real. My voice was sharp and cold. And it's not even the only time. I have bank statements, hotel receipts. I even have texts. I turned my phone toward him and started scrolling through the messages. Mark's eyes darted to my screen, and for the first time since this disaster started, I saw real panic. He knew what was coming. I read out loud, mocking, God, I hate going home to her. I looked up. That's from 2 months ago. Mark winced. If she wasn't such a stupid, boring bitch, I would have left already. Someone gasped. Brenda's mouth fell open. Mark finally snapped. Stop it. Why? I tilted my head. You wanted a public scene. You wanted to expose me. You wanted to humiliate me in front of our friends and family. So why can't we talk about you now? His fists clenched. His whole body was shaking with barely contained rage. And for a second, just a split second, I saw the real him. The version of him he tried to hide. And I wasn't afraid. He was the weak one now. I squared my shoulders, took a deep breath, and delivered the final blow. You're the cheater, Mark. And now everyone knows it. And then I turned to Brenda. And you? You let this happen. You helped him. Her mouth flapped open, but no words came out. She was speechless. The queen of insults, the woman who had spent years trying to tear me down, was finally at a loss. I let the moment sink in. Let them both drown in the weight of their own mistakes. Then I pulled out my last surprise. I reached into my purse and took out a manila envelope. Brenda flinched like it was a loaded gun. I held it up for Mark to see. For everyone to see. This, I said, is my divorce filing. Mark actually staggered. You, what? His voice cracked. I didn't blink. I filed 2 weeks ago. I've already spoken to a lawyer. And just so you know. I smiled. I have proof of your infidelity. That means you don't get to fight for full custody. You don't get to take the house. And thanks to the prenup your mother insisted on, I turned to Brenda. He gets nothing. She actually gasped. Mark's face twisted. He looked like he wanted to scream. I wasn't done. Oh, and by the way, I leaned in just a little. I also found out something interesting about your little girlfriend. His face froze. I smiled. She's pregnant, isn't she? Boom. The color drained from his face. Brenda's legs buckled. She reached out, grabbing a chair for support. The crowd exploded. Gasps, whispers, even a few outright shouts. One of Mark's cousins actually muttered, holy shit. Brenda snapped out of it first. She turned on her son, her precious, perfect son, and her voice was venom. Tell me that's not true. Mark's mouth opened, but nothing came out. And that was it. That was all the proof anyone needed. Brenda's entire body shook with rage. You, her voice was strangled. You idiot. You absolute, stupid, pathetic idiot. Mark flinched. She grabbed his arm and shook him. I did everything for you. I tried to save your marriage. I tried to fix your life. And you ruined everything. Mark yanked away from her grip. I never asked you to do any of that. Brenda's face was twisted with fury. Because you're too stupid to know what's good for you. And just like that, they turned on each other. Mark started yelling back. Maybe if you hadn't been so obsessed with my marriage, I wouldn't have felt so trapped. Brenda shrieked. Trapped? You got another woman pregnant, you moron. I just stood there, watching them implode. Because this was justice. Then I felt a small hand tug my dress. I looked down. Leo. My beautiful, sweet Leo. His eyes were wide. He looked scared. And just like that, the rage inside me was gone. I knelt down and held him close. It's okay, baby, I whispered. We're going to be okay. His tiny hands clung to my shoulders. I kissed his hair and whispered, I love you more than anything in the world. And in that moment, I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't humiliated anymore. Because I had won. Mark had lost everything. Brenda had destroyed her own son. And me? I was free. I stood up, held Leo's hand, and turned to the guests. Sorry for the drama, everyone. But I think this party is over. And then, with my son by my side, I walked away. I filed for full custody. I got it. Mark fought at first, but after his girlfriend gave birth, he gave up. Turns out, she wasn't thrilled when she found out he had tried to fake a DNA test to get rid of his wife. She left him. Brenda? She went no contact with Mark for almost a year. Eventually, she crawled back, but things were never the same. And me? I built a new life. A happy life. A life without Mark. Without Brenda. Without their poison. And it turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me.